Ladies and gentlemen, this is history's deadliest sniper, Simo Häyhä. Häyhä. I think that's how you pronounce it. The White Death. 542 kills. I've been waiting for this video from Electrician. First I thought like maybe he's not going to do it because he just does American videos, but then he started doing like other videos as well, which are not American. I'm like, there must be a White Death video coming. So finally it's here. So what I remember about White Death is like, I'm pretty sure he just did all that with iron sights. No scopes. Insane distances, no scope. He got hit a lot of time, injured a lot of time. And I'm pretty sure he lived very, very long life, like 90s or something, right? 80s or 90s, that's how long he lived, as far as I remember. Obviously, like, he got a lot of medals and shit. Like, yeah, it was just an insane story. Like, somebody who's, like, video game level numbers, somebody who gets injured a lot and still somehow lives very long life. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. Let's watch it.
I've been making YouTube videos for about 3 years now, and this is probably the most requested video ever. Today we're talking about the deadliest sniper of all time, Simo Häyhä, aka the White Death. The Finnish have a cultural concept known as sisu, and if you look at it at a glance, it can be easily confused with like tenacity or grit, but it's more than that. Sisu isn't just your ability to grit your teeth and push through adversity. Sisu is the personality trait that allows somebody to intentionally and stoically allow themselves to be immersed with adversity until they either become...
Yeah, I think I remember Top Gear episode, Mika Häkkinen video, where James May goes to basically, yeah. So where he talks about Sisu, I still remember, like, only way I can interpret that is like having some kind of like a it factor or X factor, let's just say it. Somebody having something. Not necessarily balls, but something like that, right? Like having an it factor. So, especially when that's what I understood from that.
Become immune to it or become the adversity themselves. And in 1939, when a 33-year-old, 5-foot-tall Finnish farmer named Simo found himself on the battlefield defending his home, outnumbered 100 to 1, surrounded by death on all sides, rather than succumb to it, he became death itself.
Nicholas, what is this?
That's the new CMMG BR4.
When did you get it?
I've had it?
Nice recovery.
No, I would have remembered something like this.
Okay, fine. I just got it, but I had to because it's the only one they Cerakoted to look like a Busch Light can.
So you got a new toy. What do I get?
I mean, what do you want?
I don't know. I'll do some shopping and I'll let you know. So have fun with the ad.
Mayday! Mayday!
This video is brought to you by Delete Me, okay? Super simple business model. You give them money, they turn around and they make sure that online data brokers are not selling your personal information online. Okay, here's the deal. Pretty much anytime you use a free service on the internet and you click that little box that says, I agree to the terms and conditions, you've basically just agreed to allow them to harvest as much of your personal information as humanly possible. They then turn around and sell that to online data brokers, and that's how they can afford to offer you a free service. But when you have Delete Me, they go and they monitor all of these online data brokers for your personal information, and then if they find it, they submit all the opt-out forms on your behalf, so they have to take down and stop selling that information. So when you buy Delete Me, you're not actually buying anything, you're just buying your way out of all the negative consequences of all the free shit that you've already gotten. And because they continue to monitor those data brokers, you're buying yourself out of all the future negative consequences of all the free shit that you haven't even gotten yet. So if you want to give Delete Me a try, there's going to be a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video. All right, Simo Häyhä, he was born on December 17th, 1905 and grew up on his family farm, which was right on the border between Finland and Russia. Now, when I say farm, people automatically think of like some dude in a baseball cap and overalls holding a pitchfork with rows and rows of corn in the background. It wasn't one of those kinds of farms. This is what you would call a forest farm, which is a lot more akin to like what we would call a homestead today. Basically, Simo grew up in a cabin in the woods and they had a really big garden and they grew enough food for themselves and then had enough extra to like take it to the farmer's market and sell for money. So Simo essentially grew up his entire life in this harsh, hilly, wooded, snow-covered, freezing environment. This is his baseline, okay? This doesn't suck to him. This is just your normal everyday stuff. Walking uphill every direction through the snow is just a good day to him. And this almost goes without saying, but I'll mention it anyways, that hunting was also a humongous part of how his family put food on the table, and Simo did that from a very young age as well, hunting in this harsh environment. Unfortunately, Simo was pretty intimately acquainted with death at a young age. He had 4 brothers and 3 sisters. One of his brothers passed away in 1918 in the Finnish Civil War, and another one of his brothers passed away after suffering from heat stroke on a construction site. Simo is a member of one of the last generations that didn't have the luxury of quitting, okay? This guy was born, and the minute that he could walk, he was helping his family in their fight for survival. There was no quitting. There was doing or there was dying. And if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, the point I need you to get from this is Simo's a small guy. He's only 5 foot tall. He's 110 pounds, but he literally doesn't know what quitting is. Things that me and you would call horrific circumstances is just a Tuesday to him. It just doesn't even register that he should be having a bad time. He's literally just happy to be alive. At the age of 17, following in his older brother's footsteps, Simo joins the Finnish Civil Guard, which is equivalent to like the American National Guard. Essentially, they train on weekends and they'll train a couple weeks a year, being ready in case they need to be called up by their country, but the rest of the time, he's just going back being a farmer. As a member of the Civil Guard, he is issued one of the most iconic military service rifles of all time, the Mosin Nagant, a bolt-action rifle. He's also issued a small amount of ammunition to train with, but because of budgetary restrictions, they decided to be...
Yeah, Mosin Nagant. That's an iconic rifle. So his whole story is like, when you think about it, it makes sense. Like you said, farmstead, right? Like just trying to survive is a thing, right? Like you have to hunt for your food. Basically, if you try to process something like that today, it doesn't really work. You can try to think about it, like you can think of, I don't know, base of it, but you won't really understand. So, when you see like somebody who's like gathering skills like that, when you play, like old timer video game where you have to hunt and do all that shit, like, look at that, isn't that something? I guess people used to do that back then. Like even during this time, like a lot of places, like people trying to survive, hunting just to eat food and things like that, right? And just like, yeah, people dying because medicine isn't that like easy to come by, and all the horrific scenarios. Yeah, you will gather skills, right? That's not the same thing today. In today's leisure world that we live in, having any kind of skill might feel like unique thing because usually people don't have it, right? But back then it was about survival. So yeah, he just shooting people with like iron sight doesn't feel that far, like that weird thing when you take all this into account.
More efficient to just issue all of the Civil Guard members the materials they needed to load their own ammunition. So Simo was also manufacturing his own ammo. During his time in the Civil Guard, he receives awards for his excellent skiing capabilities as well as his physical conditioning. He is not a big man, but the dude is the Energizer Bunny. He can just go forever. In addition to that, he also immediately becomes well known for being an excellent marksman. Before he received any formal shooting training from the military, he entered a regional shooting competition where they had to shoot a target 100 times from 300 meters with iron sights, and he had 93 out of 100 hits. He won a ton of shooting competitions inside of the Finnish military, not just with his Mosin, but also with the Suomi M31 submachine gun. He very quickly qualified for the title of master shooter within the Finnish military, and it is said that he was able to estimate range within the accuracy of 1 meter up to 150 meters away. Okay, that's literally a superhuman ability. You could just point to something off in the distance and Simo could eyeball it and be like, it's like 89 meters away, and he was dead on every single time. And that's not even the scariest part. The scariest part was how fast Simo could operate his Mosin bolt-action rifle. He could fire his Mosin accurately, insanely fast.
Okay, that is insane, right? I'm a civil contractor, as I said. Before we start construction in like say a factory or something, right? There's like whole, like you need to do checks and things. You need to measure distance and things, like their whole equipments, right? I usually just for my, like my knowledge, I use like a handy, like a laser pointer to, I guess, measure the distance, how far away what is. And I started doing like, okay, let's try to estimate this without laser pointer, and then a little game, right? And I did well enough for like short distances, like 40, 50 meters something. 100, 200, 300, like I'm like I can never get it right? Like that's just insane, right? I tried and tried, like one time I even got pissed off, like I better get this right, and I fucking didn't. So it's really hard to, like, after certain distance, it's really hard to like process it, because that's how our eyes work, right? That's how three-dimensional we see. Like at certain distance, it's just like you can't really tell the distance. That's how it is. So having that kind of ability is insane.
Fast. So fast that they actually wanted to time him one day. So his buddies got a stopwatch and they were going to time to see how many times Simo could hit a target 150 meters away with his bolt-action rifle in the span of 60 seconds. Simo scored 16 hits in the span of 60 seconds with a bolt-action rifle.
He is the one.
And just so we're on the same page, the Mosin Nagant only holds 5 rounds in the magazine, meaning that Simo shot the first 6 rounds, because there was one in the chamber, reloaded, shot the next 5, reloaded again, and shot another 5, hitting the target 150 meters away with fucking iron sights every single time. Okay, if you don't know much about guns, this is the only bolt-action rifle I have, but he had to do something like fire 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, reload the gun, and then he did that 2 more times in 60 seconds with 100% accuracy. So Simo is just a natural superhuman level shooter. So this goes on for 2 years, and then at the age of 19, he ends up joining the Finnish active military, because at this point in time, Finland has mandatory service of 15 months. And Simo gets attached to a bicycle battalion, which is it's something I honestly can't decide if it's hilarious or terrifying, the image of Simo rolling up to a battlefield on a bicycle. So he serves his 15 months in active duty military, nothing really going on at this point in time. Then he goes back.
Yeah, the most terrifying sound is like that, like the chain sound, right? Like the kid, kid bicycle sound. Whenever a kid pulls up, you say choo choo choo. That sound. That's the most terrifying sound anyone can hear. Like holy shit, Simo's here.
Back into the Civil Guard and continues being a farmer. And that's pretty much all he's got going on for like the next decade. He's just in the Civil Guard, winning shooting competitions, going back home, taking care of his crops, and going hunting. November 26, 1939, an event known as the Shelling of Manila happens. The real quick, oversimplified version of this is essentially Russia wants to take over Finland. Finland isn't down with that, so Russia now has to come up with a reason to go to war with Finland. They can't find any legitimate reasons, so they fabricate one. Simply put, this is a false flag event. The Russian military shells near a Russian town near the border with Finland. They then turn around and say, well, actually, Finland is trying to shoot artillery at our town, so we're going to go to war with them. Finland obviously denies shelling the Russian town because, well, they didn't actually do it, and they offer over to Russia like, hey, we're willing to let a third-party independent investigator come in and determine what happened. We did not do this. Russia declines and then invades Finland 4 days later.
Oh no!
Russia sends in 450,000 soldiers to attack Finland. Okay, to put that into perspective, the total population, not the military, the total population of Finland at this point in time is about 4 million people. So 25% of the entire Finnish population is getting sent in with guns to attack Finland. And those 450,000 Soviets are being backed up by the Soviet population of 168 million.
Seems fair.
Calling this a David versus Goliath type situation is putting it mildly. On paper, Finland doesn't stand a chance. But Finland does have a couple of things going for it, because in the years leading up to this, Stalin conducted the Great Purge, essentially killing off all of his high-ranking and knowledgeable military leadership because he was worried that they were going to try to overthrow him. So by and large, the Soviet military at this point in time is pretty incompetent. And the Finnish, well...
Yeah, after hearing all that shit, right? Switzerland's whole approach, it doesn't feel that weird, right? Creating mines everywhere, creating like this like bunkers and shit, putting bombs under bridge. Basically, if somebody invades, you just blow up the bridge. When you see shit like this, like okay, 25% of the whole population will have to fight Soviet Union, which can just like send even more people because there are a lot of them, right? It's just like David versus Goliath, like he said. So Switzerland's whole approach, like you can understand, like, like surrounded by all these European countries. Who knows who's going to get ideas? So they're like, oh, fuck this. Like, we're going to do this. So whole Switzerland's idea makes sense.
They're Finnish. They've got that going for them. Okay, if you've read enough history, you know there's a couple of quick life hacks if you want to live a long, happy life. Like don't smoke, eat a good diet, never try to fight the Filipinos in the jungle, and never try to fight the Finnish people in the snow. It's just a bad time.
You merely adopted the dark.
I was born in it.
Now, for Simo at this point in time, he had just last year in 1938 gotten formal sniper training from the Finnish military. Not that he really needed it, but he does have that title now. And when the Russians attacked, Simo was actually out in the field doing a training mission with the civil guard, so he didn't find out the Russians attacked until the day after, when he was immediately activated and put into duty. So he gets orders, reports to the front line, and his new company commander is a man by the name of Arne Juutilainen, aka the Terror of Morocco. And this man, much like Simo, is a complete and absolute gangster, but instead of being a sniper like Simo is, he's a leader. He's leading men into battle that are going in heavily outnumbered. We're talking like 100 guys versus 5,000 men on the Kola front where they're fighting. So Juutilainen's signature move, embracing Sisu and having no fear, would go out on the front lines in the middle of battle and sit in a rocking chair with gunfire and explosions going off, giving orders to his men to show them that they didn't have anything to fear. And Simo is now taking...
Seriously, that is like a weird superpower, because think about anything, like any intense thing you've done. Doesn't matter, it could be like I don't know, like for the job, you like, you know, in job interview or something. I don't know, anything, and like your heart starts to pound, anxiety sets in, like that certain specific period, like if somebody you care about is in hospital, like all these scenarios, like anxiety rises up, like doubt rises up, all this shit happens, doesn't matter how confident, how strong you are. Sisu can basically bypass all that. Like you're in this mindset, right? If you believe in it that way, you are in this mindset. Now, you know, like this whole nervousness, you know, like calm before the war, calm before the battle, all that shit doesn't matter anymore. You're just doing a job now and you are best at it. You're not going to be afraid. You're not going to have anxiety. So that just changes everything, right? This whole psychology changes.
Orders from this guy. Okay, shit's about to get real. So Simo shows up, they start digging trenches, laying out barbed wire, setting the front line. They end up fighting their asses off for 2 days straight. After that, they actually end up receiving orders to fall back a little bit, which they do. That becomes like Juutilainen's thing. Like, we're not retreating unless we receive orders. We are going to stand here and fight till the bitter end unless ordered to do otherwise by our superiors. So they fall back, and Juutilainen knows that Simo is like from this area. Like, his farm is right down the road. He knows the area, he knows the terrain. So he grabs Simo and he's like, hey, I need you to sneak behind enemy lines and start cutting all the telephone wires. To which Simo replies, and I quote, I'll try my best. And Simo's best is absolutely enough. He sneaks behind enemy lines, he's cutting all the telephone wires, just wreaking havoc behind enemy lines. Ends up making it back completely unscathed, at which point Juutilainen is like, okay, this dude's super sneaky, he knows the terrain, I'm just gonna make him like my go-to sniper for all my shit. Shortly after this, on the Kola front, where Juutilainen is in charge, there is a Soviet sniper that keeps taking out platoon leaders, okay? They're specifically targeting his officers, his best guys. Juutilainen cannot have this happen. He turns to Simo, basically says, go get him. So that next morning before the sun comes up, Simo goes, has a big breakfast, and then takes off. He goes to the general area where this sniper's been operating, and he inserts himself.
Another video where there's like a sniper duel. What is this? Hollywood allow this shit? Because you just expect, like in real world, probably sniper duel doesn't happen, but apparently it does. Right? This is so awesome.
And he builds a little snow berm, and he packs the snow down really tight, and then he pours water all over it so that it freezes into this ice wall, and this becomes one of his signature tactics. And this is brilliant because Simo is planning ahead for failure. He is planning on missing his first shot. He never does, but it never hurts to be ready for the worst possible outcome. You see, because Simo already knows, growing up in this environment and hunting his whole life, that the first time you fire that bullet, snow is gonna kick up all around you into a giant cloud, and if the other enemy sniper doesn't know where you are, they're gonna know now. So Simo, thinking 10 steps ahead, goes and eliminates the snow factor. He turns all the snow around him into ice so that there's nothing to kick up at all. And then he just lays there still all day long, not moving. He's constantly putting ice and snow into his mouth so that his breath doesn't create fog, so that there's no way of possibly seeing this guy. And he waits all day long, and soon enough the sun starts going down. And as the sun is going down behind Simo, he ends up catching a glint off the...
Okay, Sissy, I don't understand this. Like, we are hot-blooded, right? We are not cold-blooded like crocodiles and shit. We need body temperature. Now I get it, like Finland, born in ice, they are ice and they, you know, Finnish people, they are the same thing. You can say all that shit, but in the end, they're human. How the fuck can he just like lay there on ice, put ice in the mouth, and doesn't like catch hypothermia or something, like a major change in temperature or core temperature, not getting sick? How is he surviving? If I get like change of temperature by 10 degrees, like I'm sick instantly, right? If I take a hot shower and somehow I forgot AC is on, I'm gonna be sick. This is insanity.
The enemy sniper's scope, but he's not in a hurry, so he waits. So now he knows where the enemy sniper is, but he's patient and he just keeps waiting and he keeps waiting, and the sun keeps going further and further down, and it's getting darker and darker, and soon we're at the point where there's going to be nothing but starlight in 15 minutes. And at that point, the Soviet sniper just stands the fuck up out of nowhere, like it was the bell just rang and it's lunchtime at the factory. He just gets up because his shift is over and he starts walking back to camp, and Simo drops him.
This is like fucking video game. It's like there was a mission in Fallout New Vegas where you're supposed to get the script, blueprint from gun runners or something, right? Like you just wait for the time and everybody just start walking like at exact time, right? It's like in Skyrim, when the time happens, every town starts to like stand up at the same time and go to sleep. It's like, well, time is up, and just like springs up like that.
Him one shot straight to the head.
What an idiot!
So Simo reports back to Utalainen, hey, solved the problem, no issue. It's been like 18 hours and Simo's already got this guy down, and this guy's been wreaking havoc on his men for like a week and a half. So Simo is obviously super legit, at which point Utalainen basically just lets him off the leash. Like, hey, whatever you're doing, just fucking keep doing it. Go win. And this is what Simo does every single day. He goes out, he builds his ice berm into a couple of different locations that he has already set up, and he is just picking off Russians left and right. And unlike other snipers at the time that were trying to prioritize high-value targets like officers, Simo absolutely was not, which makes sense because his family farm is right down the road. Like his family, his friends, where he grew up is literally under attack right now. If you were wearing a Russian uniform and he saw you, you were a dead man. Simo got asked about this later in life, and
Imagine that, right? Like you just killing people left and right. It's your place. It's literally your neighborhood. And the time is like, okay, I guess it's night. I guess my mission is done. Before I go back to military camp, how about I go sleep in my own fucking bed? And then like I'll go in the morning. Oh, this is some insanity. Man, this is some epic shit. Like Soviet Union just like, oh, we have a badass sniper. Finnish people won't know what hit them. And now the tide is turned. Like their sniper is dead and Finnish sniper is hunting them.
replied, and I quote, "I shot when I saw the enemy. I didn't care if they were a leader." Simo is literally treating the front line like it is a shooting gallery at the state fair. There are multiple days where he is logging between 10 and 20 confirmed kills. So at this point, Simo starts to get a ton of notoriety within the Finnish military, and it gets to the point where whenever there's a problem, it doesn't matter if it's a forward observer that's shooting accurate artillery, it doesn't matter if it's an enemy sniper, anywhere on the front line, they would send for Simo and they would pick him up, escort him to that part of the front line, and he would go handle the problem. And the best part about this is you got to remember, this is Finland in December in 1935. So when they send for Simo, they're sending a reindeer-guided fucking sleigh to pick him up and escort him to wherever there's a problem, and he's gonna go out and solve it.
I'm imagining Doc Holliday from Tombstone. I'll be your Huckleberry. That's what I'm imagining right now. This is some badass shit.
He's like the shitty inverse of Santa Claus, except instead of leaving a lump of coal in your stocking, he's gonna put a piece of lead in your fucking forehead.
No witnesses?
So around this point, Simo starts to gain notoriety with the Soviets, and they start calling him Belia Smrt, aka the White Death. The Soviet government puts a huge bounty on Simo's head. They're sending in counter-sniper teams to take out the White Death, and every single time Simo kills all of them. They never stood a chance. The man can shoot 16 rounds a minute accurately out of his Mosin. He's wearing white camouflage in the snow. He's turned all the snow around him into ice, so there's no kicking up snow. You can't see his breath. He doesn't have a scope to catch a glint of. He's literally eliminated luck from the scenario. He is a complete ghost.
This is absolute insanity. Think about it. Snow, if the snow is everywhere, if there is a sunlight, right, snow's gonna like, it's white, it's gonna like be brighter, right? And now you're trying to find somebody who's like camouflaged as snow. And there is no dust up, there is no nothing. How the fuck you supposed to find that? It's like white snow basically attacking you. How the fuck are you gonna find that? Like distance, like he can just like attack you from like way far distance away, right? This is insane.
ghost, and he's just wiping the floor with the entire Soviet military. So eventually the Soviets are like, okay, we're just gonna quit fucking with this guy. We're gonna quit sending men into that area of operation where we know the White Death is, and we're just gonna focus on other areas. And Simo takes this as his opportunity to go play offense. So he goes to Utalainen and is like, hey, give me a squad of guys. I'm gonna lead them into battle. We're gonna go behind enemy lines and we're gonna take the fight to them. So Simo starts leading a squad past enemy lines at dusk every night, and they would literally ski miles and miles behind enemy lines where the Soviets think they're safe. And back there, they just have these massive bonfires that they're all sitting around eating dinner, drinking, smoking, having a good time at the end of the day. And Simo and his men would ski to within like 100 meters of them, dismount, and low crawl till they were right up on top of them. And then Simo and his men would pop up with submachine guns, mow down all the Russians, and then steal all their equipment, all their guns, all their ammo, all their food, and fucking bounce back to the front line. Okay, it's literally guerrilla warfare on ice. It's absolutely terrifying. And you gotta realize, this is all within the span of like a month. By December 25th, 1935, Simo already had over 100 confirmed kills, and his record was 25 men in a single day. So the Soviets double, they triple their efforts trying to take out the White Death. They start sending in counter sniper teams with forward observers with them, and then as soon as Simo shoots one of them, they start just calling in artillery in the general area that Simo's in, but they never ever hit him. Whether it's luck or divine intervention or just fate, Simo makes it away every single time. And the best part is, every single time they try to do this tactic, the odds of them actually accomplishing their goal gets less and less, because every time they're sending in their best guys and Simo's killing them. So the quality of the men that Simo's going up against is constantly deteriorating. By January of 1940, Simo is an absolute legend with over 200 confirmed kills, 51 of which he got in 3 days. One of his other records at this point in time was he managed to take out 5 enemy snipers in a single day. Because of everything Simo's accomplished around the same point in time, Utalainen's boss...
Seriously, man, there has never been a Federation video that feels like a video game more than this. That many kills in a single day, 25 in a day, 50 plus in like 3 days. This is video game level shit. Only thing that would make this not a video game is like no NPC will basically come to Simo and just like treat him as like just everyday guy. That's the fucking difference between video game and real life. In video game you can kill 100 people and everybody will treat you like a basic guy or some shit.
The general in charge of that entire front pulls Simo back, and they have a ceremony where they award him with an honorary rifle. It's also a Mosin just like his, but it's, very nice, decorative one, and they award it to him. And you have to realize at this point in time, Simo is very, very important to the Finnish war effort. Not only is he out there just being a one-man army, wrecking house, taking it to the Soviets, but he's also huge for the morale of the entire Finnish military. Like, he is the hero that everybody's looking to, like, this guy's on our side, we might be able to win this. He is such a big deal that the general's wife knits him a pair of wool mittens, okay? It sounds like just like a nice pleasantry, but do you know how
seriously, look at him, man. He's like small eyes and smile. Just harmless dude. He won't do nothing. He'll offer you coffee. Hot coffee in a snowy day. He'll just like, just talk nice and everything. He's a nice guy whose name is White Death. He doesn't even look somebody who's just like, like 50 Cent level shit, like, completely like, come here, like, type of just like, complete, like, badass. No, he's just like, yeah, calm dude. Hey, I bet he probably was like that, right? If you're not an enemy, he was probably like, oh, here's a coffee, and just like talking with you, like, just calm and everything. I'm just doing my job.
Fucking gangster you have to be for the general's wife to feel motivated to knit you in particular a pair of mittens. Okay, that means the general is going home every night telling his wife, like, sweetheart, the White Death is the shit. He's the key to winning this war. He's everything right now. And the wife is like, oh shit, I better do something nice for this guy because he's literally gonna save the whole country by himself.
Imagine just running home to Brenda. I guess her name is Brenda. He killed 25 today. This is just ridiculous. And everybody's just like, both of them like just like amping shit up, like talking excited like this, some kind of like, I don't know, like some daily soap episode or twist or something. He killed 25 today. Like, this is just absolute insanity.
himself. So Simo gets his ceremonial rifle, gets his wool mittens. He's also awarded a pocket watch, which at this point in time is a huge deal to have a watch. So he gets all that. And usually at this point in time, you know, bigger, more powerful countries like America would pull you back and use you for war bonds, parade you around the country. But they send Simo right back into action because they can't afford to not have him on the front lines. So Simo gets right back to work. He's playing cat and mouse with the Russians. Whenever they want to send men in, Simo picks them off. Whenever they don't want to send men in, Simo skis in with a squad, mows them down at their campfire. And this goes on for months. Simo just straight up farming the Russians for XP. And by March of 1940, the Russians grew impatient and they launch a major attack. And Simo said that the Russians just kept coming.
I love it. He just like XP rising up, new perk unlocked. There you go. 15% damage with 30 meter elevation or some shit. There you go. It's just like all the Assassin's Creed level, you know, like skills and shit. There you go.
Wave after wave, just meat wall tactics of I'm gonna march my men into your gunfire until you run out of bullets and hopefully I've got more men. And during this time, Simo's not up hiding at his ice wall with his Mosin. There's too many Russians for that. He's on the front line leading a squad of infantry with his submachine gun, absolutely taking the fight to the Russians. Simo had actually said that he had heard rumors that the Soviets were using the machine guns on their tanks to basically force the men to march into gunfire, and if they wouldn't go, they would mow them down with the tank. And after seeing how many men were just coming straight at their lines, getting mowed down, Simo believed it. During this time, Simo set his all-time record for killing 40 men in a single day. Simo continues to lead his squad into battle until on March 6th at 2 p.m. when he feels what he describes as a suppressed bang inside of his...
40! Oh... Clearly he didn't take he didn't like space them out for 24 hours. That's like too efficient. So that means he must have taken out a lot of them one after another for multiple hours, and there you go, 40 people. This is insane. Like, it's like no competition. Like, he is just killing them and they are all baffled. He's just like sharp shooting everyone. That is insane. 40.
He then said that he immediately felt his mouth was full of bone fragments and blood before losing consciousness. Simo doesn't know this yet, but he has just been shot in the face with an exploding bullet, which has actually been a war crime since the 1800s, but, you know, hey, so is launching a false flag event to invade Finland to begin with, so why stop at one? Simo is then scooped off the front lines and taken back to an aid station where he is triaged. Triage is the act of medics basically sorting out all of their patients to, you know, the people that need to make it to the hospital right now on the next truck to have a chance at surviving, the people that can, you know, lay here for a couple of hours and they'll probably be fine, walking wounded, and the final category, expectant, which basically means they're dead or they're going to die before they make it to the hospital, and we're not going to waste the space on the next truck. He is literally thrown into a pile of other dead Finnish soldiers. We don't know how much time passes, but eventually somebody ends up seeing Simo's foot moving in this, what is now a mass grave. They then end up getting Simo out, they get him to the hospital, and he is in a coma for the next 7 days. He then wakes up in the hospital.
There is a game called Kingdom of Amalur. I don't know if you played it or not. They remastered it recently and people are like, oh, this is a good game. But when it came out, like, yeah, somehow like people did, like, I really enjoyed it, right? I'm a big RPG type of guy. And the intro of that game is that you're dead, you're in a pile of like dead bodies where they throw you, and you survive, somebody pulls you out. And then from there on, like, you become just this badass who just like destroys everything. That's literally what happened here with Simo. Like, oh, he's dead. No, somebody pull him out. He's in a coma. He's gonna like rise up.
On March 13th, 1940, the very same day the Soviets sign a peace treaty with Finland, effectively ending the Winter War. Coincidence? I think not.
You're supposed to be dead!
Okay, now obviously I'm being facetious, but for real, there's a greater than a 0% chance that the Russian military got a memo like, hey, we thought we killed the White Death, we were wrong, he just woke up, and the Soviet Union is like, fuck this, I'm out. The Finns have the Terminator on their team. There's no other explanation.
Even I wouldn't say that, so that's not really true. Even in my fantasy world, I would not say that, because it doesn't matter how many, like 500 people total he killed, which is like insanity. But for Soviet Union, what is that number? I mean, really, right? Like few artillerists can kill 100 people if like hit wrong. So they're not gonna just like stop the war because of a guy. But then again, the guy was giving morale boost to the army. right? And the news, like, wait a minute, we didn't kill him, he rose from the dead. He's a phoenix who just rose from the dead. Now Sisu is going to be in like steroid mode, and every Finnish soldier is going to fight harder. You know what? I think it's best like just to do treaty. Maybe. Why not? Maybe.
The dude has to be hacking, okay? He's got over 500 confirmed kills at this point by running around in the hills, no-scoping people, and then we shoot him in the face and he still doesn't die. Not only that, it was an exploding bullet, literally a war crime because it's so deadly, and the dude just takes a 7-day nap about it and now he's going back into combat. No, we're done. Sign the armistice.
This is a bug from a game. You have an exploding bullet, you headshot somebody and they survive, and you throw away the keyboard, you throw away the monitor. This is bullshit. Scream at the developer. This was a bug. No way this is real.
War's over. We've had enough. Now, the war ending is actually great news for Simo because now the hospitals aren't constantly under the threat of getting overrun by Soviets or getting hit with artillery, so they're going to actually be able to get him the surgeries and care that he needs to make the best recovery humanly possible. He spends the next 14 months in the hospital where he undergoes 26 reconstructive surgeries on his face and jaw. After those surgeries, Simo makes a pretty good recovery. He gets released from the hospital, he is released from his military duties, and unfortunately, part of the armistice between the USSR and Finland is that some of the lands that Finland had got relinquished over to the USSR, including Simo's farm. So the Finnish government actually gives Simo a new farm with a house roughly the same size, same type terrain, as close as he could get back to his old home. And from there, he just goes back to doing what he was doing before. He's farming, he's hunting, he's walking around in the woods by himself. He just goes back to doing his thing. For his service, he was awarded the 1st and 2nd class Medals of Liberty, the 3rd and 4th class Crosses of Liberty, and in 1941, he was nominated for the Mannerheim Cross, which is the Finnish equivalent of the American Medal of Honor. But unfortunately, that medal didn't actually get conceived until 1941, which is after Simo's service. So a lot of the paper pushers inside the Finnish government denied him getting the Mannerheim Cross because I guess his service was before that award existed, so that wouldn't make sense. So he never actually got the Mannerheim Cross, but the man deserved it 1000%. The final stats for his short time in...
What the fuck kind of a BS is that? This is like saying we can't build a monument for somebody because we thought of the monument much later on. Like, it's a medal. You thought of it, you created to honor people. He should be on your fucking list. Are you kidding me? This is insane. I mean, if there is a guy who just like predates your military history or like your current government history, maybe I can see that, right? Like he's not from your time or something. He was just there. He just fought for your country. Basically like did all this ridiculous shit. Like that doesn't even make sense, right? I don't know.
Combat with 542 confirmed kills, 249 of which were from his Mosin Nagant with nothing but iron sights, and the rest were from his submachine gun. Now, these stats have been criticized by both, historians in academia and internet comment sections today, aka a bunch of people that weren't actually fucking there, but these stats are validated by both his company commander and his company chaplain, the people that were there. And if that wasn't enough, which...
Technically, look, man, everything is a lie if you think about it. Right? If you doubt everything, everyone can lie, everyone can have agenda. So maybe every account is wrong. So what you gonna do? Not believe anything? People dispute science, right? People dispute if the earth is flat or not, or is it round or not, right? People dispute gravity. Is gravity done? No. But is whatever like established like Newtonian and Einsteinian physics, is that going to change? No. Something new is going to come around and just expand it. But people like say, oh, Newtonian physics doesn't exist, Einsteinian physics doesn't exist. People can just say like, I wasn't there, why would I believe it? Like at that point, like conversation over. You can't be communicated with. You are done, right? So there is a certain level of like, is it certain level of people who can back this up? Good enough. After that, you have to take a leap. Like, if you're gonna doubt everything, then there what you want, like videographic proof. Even that nowadays, people say, oh, it's AI generator. Like, come on.
which it should be, but you know, just in case you think it's not, in 2017, well after his passing, his nephew stumbled across Simo's personal memoirs that he had never published, never let anyone else see, that he had written down for himself. And in his personal writings, again, to himself, that he never tried to get published, that he would have absolutely no reason to lie on, he says that he killed well over 500 men. But ultimately, Simo didn't, and probably wouldn't to this day if he was still around, care what you thought, because he wasn't doing it because he wanted the glory. He just went back to farming. He led a humble life. He didn't want to be known as the White Death. He just wanted to be left alone. That was his happily ever after, just living on a farm, doing his own thing, and that's exactly what he got.
Yeah, this is on a Call of Duty campaign. He defended his country, and you know, like killing people weighs on you. So this is not a game for him, right? Like, he doesn't care if you believe him or not. He did what he did, right? He was successful. You know, the treaty happened, everything happened. There you go.
Okay, worth noting, he passed away in 2002 at the age of 96. The Soviet Union fell in 1991, okay? Simo Häyhä took the fight to the enemy to a degree that no other singular human ever has in the history of the world. And then he gets shot in the face.
96! How did I forget that? Yeah, he lived until 96 years old. With a blown up face, with like reconstructive surgery. This guy was like sturdy as there can be. He didn't want to die, right? People die of anxiety and like you know, like heart attack and stroke over simplest thing. This guy did all that shit, got his face blown up, and lived until 96. Like, come on, right? This is why history is important. Shit like this can like amp you up. You don't need to watch Rock's you know, like gym videos where he lift weights for motivation. This is motivation. I mean, come on.
With an exploding bullet, again, a literal war crime, shrugs it off, and then proceeds to live longer than the country that he went to war with. That's gangster as fuck. And that is the story of Simo Häyhä, the White Death, the farmer's son that rose to the occasion, defended his country against all odds, showing the enemy the true meaning of Sisu. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out. The real moral of the story here is you should probably just be nice to everybody, because that little 5-foot guy at the grocery store might be the biggest badass of all time.
I mean, yeah, you never know, right? In reality, you never know. What if he's like an MMA guy or some shit with like a black belt in jiu-jitsu and shit like that? Who the fuck knows? Maybe he's like Khabib or something who can out wrestle you. You never know, like what is a great of a person, like how sturdy he is, right? You can have like strongest guy, but if he gets a cut, he'll cry, right? And you got like small guys, but like sturdy as hell. Right, well, that was history's deadliest sniper, Simo Häyhä. Häyhä. That's how you say it. Simo Häyhä. The White Death, 542 kills by channel The Fatrician. If you like my next video, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.